Um, our next category is for campus improvement. And so a quick little story here. This was the first set of submissions that we received as a committee. And I'll be honest, I wasn't sure what we were going to get when we put out this call for submissions and what was going to come back. And this next presentation you're going to hear was the first submission that I had read. And I was very pleased when I read it. I was like, all right, this is what we were looking for. And it just set the tone for the rest of the submissions that we saw. This is a great example of a team that saw a need on campus, saw an innovative solution, and you're going to hear some great collaboration they have between their students and their faculty and staff as well. So a great example of innovation in this category. So this is campus improvement. This is from the team at South Central. And we want to thank Dr. Philip Neal, Heather Rogers, Steve Hatcher, and the students from the welding program there. And we're going to hear from David Jones. Turn it over to you.
Thank you. All right, let's get out of the way. So here's what we're going to do. I'll say 3, 2, 1, go. Fire the torch up when you hear it.
I'm good.
Start, and then you'll move. Okay, John?
Yep.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, we're going to do it again. Go ahead and have your helmet down this time. Start right away, all right? Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning. That's a little media shot that we did with the process of the sky sculpture that now sits in our main campus in our courtyard. We are South Central Kentucky Community and Technical College, which should be the Innovative Award for the most the longest of the campus's names. We are in Bowling Green, so we drove up last night and have enjoyed our stay here and have enjoyed all the presentations. Very innovative. I feel like mine's slightly, I've got lots of pictures to show you. So mine's going to be more visual and sort of take you through the steps of how this happened. This started about probably over 3 years ago, because we can always track, we know when things happened before the pandemic. So what we had built a new structure on our campus, the new building L, which I see is in one of the posters in the back of the room. It's an impressive building, but once it was completed, the president, Dr. Philip Neal, realized that we probably needed something for the courtyard. Now this is the back area of building L, and thought we need a sculpture. The sculpture wasn't in the original budget for building L, so he approached the foundations and Heather Rogers, the VP of Resource Development. You have to know Heather Rogers to know Heather Rogers. She can pull things off, and this is sort of where this began. She had, I found, that's actually her and her husband in New Orleans, but this was the inspiration for everything. We weren't able to find the picture of Heather and her daughter engulfed in the love sculpture, but this is a sculpture in New York City by Robert Indiana. It's a famous piece, and she thought, could we do something like that? So then she came to me. So for any of you art or know any of the art professors at your schools, they're usually the go-to people for this kind of thing. So this is our Welcome Center that you're looking at here. So it will eventually say Welcome Center. That's how long ago I took this inspiration shot. So this was the beginning. It's a curved entryway. So I thought I wasn't going to copy anything directly. So I wanted to look at this, and it was to sit actually right in front of this at one point. There's going to be many revisions during this because you have President Neal, Heather Rogers, Steve Hatcher, who deserves way more credit than it's going to seem. He should be standing here. He can't be standing here today because he's committed to workforce, and that's where he is today. So I took this image, started playing around with it. This is just chicken scratch to you right now. These are notes, some things I went through to look at how this could be pulled off. I did at one point stack Sky CTC underneath, or did CTC under Sky. At one point, that would have been a good 20 feet tall sculpture. And you'll see as the process goes on, that may have been unfeasible. One of these, this is the physical note taking. This is, I'm trying to imagine, this is how my brain works. One image was, and I tried to find even another example of it, that if you looked at the sculpture from one angle, it said Sky, and if you moved around, it said CTC. That didn't work out for me. I could not figure out how that was like, so I thought, this has gotten too complicated. So then we stacked them, and then we added architectural elements, and then to mimic, and we sort of did a forced perspective of the curve of that entryway and a forced perspective of the top. That's really easy for me to draw. I was told by Steve Hatcher, the welding professor, this is not going to be easy to curve this stainless steel because the whole thing is made out of stainless steel. So again, some of the early sketches, some of us going back and forth, and Steve and I working together on this. The back view would have benches. These are all going to sound, y'all are going to be so jealous that these don't exist. Benches on it, you could climb through it. They're all connected. There's my aerial view. So I take all of these, we make notes. Mr. Hatcher and I consult with one another pretty regularly and got to know each other way better during this process as well. So then he does his magic and turns it into a CAD drawing. Now everybody's getting all excited because you're not looking at my drawings anymore. That's not very impressive to me when I look at it. I thought there's no work here, but it is. This is him finessing it and finagling it and changing angles and removing all the extra stuff that I had drawn on it, and the benches are gone because that was a safety hazard, and I began to understand all this. It looked really good on my drawings, though. So we go from this to Mr. Hatcher beginning to bring his students into this process, and I have some shots of them working on this. Some of the equipment, and it's like I showed this to somebody to make sure, and I realized, well, it did take me a second to figure out what in the world I'm looking at. But you're looking through a hollow portion of the sculpture at a welding helmet, a student inside welding on this. So, I mean, it's quite the effort, and to also give you a sense of the scale of this thing. Gas tungsten arc welding. I had to ask Mr. Hatcher all these terms. Are there any welders in the room besides? Okay, good. Then believe me, these are all correct. Outside corner and fillet welds. So this was part of class and also outside of class for the students and for Mr. Hatcher, which he readily let me know that he would come in on weekends and work on this. It consisted of 4 metal sheets of stainless steel, 6 feet by 10 feet, which that was a long process of just waiting for that to arrive. We had it ordered for a while. There was money to be raised, which is, again, Heather Rogers' job. And then that's all cut out. These are great shots, and these students work so hard. I do have them listed, and we'll list them by name at the end of this presentation. So the end product was a polished stainless steel sculpture that we would put in the courtyard. The finished sculpture ended up weighing 1,800 pounds, which I have to also mention the facilities and maintenance at school because they poured a concrete slab for this to sit on in the courtyard. They installed lighting so it's lit up at night, and it sort of appeared It was in the welding shop, and then a weekend went by, and all of a sudden it was in the courtyard, and it was sort of like a magical thing that happened. I don't know. It was almost like it happened at night, because I don't know if anybody has any pictures of that. So the whole finished piece is a 5-foot by 10-foot polished piece of stainless steel. Next step was to clear powder coat the piece, which we sent to a company which has hired many of the technical graduates from KCTC. This is the plaque that it's in the studio, in the welding studio right now. It will be installed, I think, coming up. So the sky's the limit at KCTC in appreciation of Steve Hatcher, the welding professor. Now you notice how big his name is here. So and also when I got here this morning, his picture's on the wall in the lobby. It's like that's what we're working with. And the following assisted in the fabrication of the sculpture: Jacob Daniels, who was also a student of mine, Zachary Finch, Cameron Mefford, Garrett Estes, James Johnson, Tyler Ferguson, Seth Johnson, and Carson Seymour all worked really tirelessly on this. And even Jacob Daniels would come and sort of escape and hide in my art studio, which is right next door to the welding studio, by the way, so it works out well. And then, of course, my name's at the bottom. So it's like, what artistic vision means by this, and I know Hatcher doesn't have anything to do with this, is that C. David Jones' artistic vision, he didn't weld anything. And I was told years ago, in my late 20s, by a sculptor, and I'm generally a painter, but I would do these large-scale murals, and he would say, you know what you need to do? You need to design the mural, get the job, and then hire people to paint it for you. And I thought, I don't know if I can do that. So I thought, this is my chance to finally do that. And you get a lot of grief for that, from welding anyway. But it's been a chance for art and welding, which, normally that's not two disciplines that are going to cross over. But it worked out great. Steve, with really the technology on the CAD drawings, to work with me and my ideas, and to have it curved, and to have the slopes on the side, and to have it connected. So it could be like an opportunity for to dress up the campus. So here it is sitting sort of in the courtyard, to dress up the campus a little bit, or a lot really, to provide. And this was the biggest thing that was in, I think, most of our heads, is it's a photo op. I mean, to have the kids, the students, take their pictures next to it. We're having graduation, I think, at school this year, and we're having graduation fair next week. With caps and gowns next to it, putting it on social media, sharing it with one another. That was the end goal. This all happened really fast. I saw the Innovation Award, the ceremony, and the nominations. I mentioned it to Heather Rogers. Within a couple of days, she said, "You won, and you and Steve Hatcher won, and you need to come up with a presentation." I'm like, "Oh, okay." We had also just received the President's Innovation Cup at KCTC for the same thing, so that was nice. He also couldn't come to that, and I had to accept that award by myself, but I guarantee you it's sitting in his office. I promise. Since then, and because of this, we've been contacted by a local company. It's a utilities company in Bowling Green, in downtown Bowling Green, to do something similar. This is BGMU, it's Bowling Green Municipal Utilities, and they sort of we had a meeting, Dr. James McCaslin and Dr. Neal and I went and met with the president of BGMU to talk about these areas. Now, these are just sketches. These are just rough sketches that I did Wednesday, by the way. So their logo is a range up. They'll be tweaked, and whether or not we can build it. It's like I draw all these big ideas, and Hatcher will tell me whether or not that's physically possible to build, or our kid's going to climb on it and stuff like that. It's things like you have to think about in the future. But these are ideas that we've come up with. We're waiting on sort of funding. That's a fiber optic little sculpture. It doesn't exist. This is all just drawings on top of photographs. But it's a way to see the community look at us and look at, it's like, okay, the art and welding and sculptures and public works, that's all sort of the result, and hopefully so, the result of all of this. This is a group from Franklin Simpson Middle School that came through last week for a career exploration day. I mean, how great is that? Look at that campus, the courtyard, the sky sculpture. I participated in that day. It's just one of those things, like that's the thing you need to go get your photo done, your selfie, whatever it may be. And it's an impressive piece. So there's me. And that's Steve Hatcher, in case anybody needed to know, to recognize. They sent me too, but because I'm better looking than Steve. I don't know. So that's the end result of what we were working and looking at collaboration. So does anybody have any questions on anything? And this is completely different, and I don't have any cool numbers to crunch. I just have a thing to build.
Thank you so much, David. A couple of things. You've got some comments. This is amazing. So you've got that. There's a question on, is it sealed or does it have to be cleaned regularly or both?
It does have a clear powder coat on it, so it should not have to be sealed. I mean, it is sealed. It shouldn't have to be cleaned.
And a night pick has been requested. So if there's a night pick, or if you want to send it to us, we'll put it in the scoop with that.
I wanted one as well. So
got a request from Big Sandy. They're asking for one. Can you just make us up one real quick? So you've got that. Do you have a question on, would you recommend a larger slab for the photo op for people to stand on in the future?
That was one of the things. That's why we had like those bench. I wanted to have like a little thing for people to get up, like put their foot on and stand up on in the back. But there were some safety concerns with that. So yeah, that would be a good idea with the slab. And you can go around the sides, and there's bigger areas where you can. I wouldn't stick my head through every single one of those openings, but between the K and the Y is a good spot. And
you've got just reassurance that they're laughing at your jokes with you. So just letting you know. Yeah, Dr. J.
Thanks, Paige. Hey, David. Dr. J, longtime listener, first-time caller. I just wanted to say the amazing part of this for me was not just the collaboration between you and Mr. Hatcher, but it was the involvement of the students in this. So it's not just Steve working on the weekends, despite what he might want to tell you. It's not just Steve doing the welding, but all of the students that would come through and all of the students who were taking tours that saw our students working on something. It's one thing to learn to lay a weld and, hey, isn't that great? Now I've got this piece here. It's quite another thing 20 years from now when somebody's driving by and say, hey, I went to school there and look, I helped with that.
Absolutely.
My wife's dad was originally a bricklayer, and we would drive through Bowling Green and he would say, I laid brick on there. I did that chimney. I mean, even 50 years later, those are the kinds of impressions that we make and we try to get our community in. But it also spread out even more for me. So KCTCS participated in a career fair at the mall last year sometime. And I was working the Sky Table, and it just so happened that the medical center, which is the largest healthcare provider in our area, had a table right behind us. And Paige knows this, but I like to chat people up, right? So all of a sudden we start talking, and it turns out that the lady that's working the table at the time is the nursing recruiter for the med center. Great. They love our nurses. Wonderful. Her son comes to bring us lunch. He was Mr. Mefford, one of the students that had spent hours and hours and hours on that. So you never know where your wagon's going to get hitched, right? So it wasn't just, hey, we love your nurses, but now the nursing recruiter at the largest healthcare facility in our area, has their own child who's had a phenomenal experience at SkyCTC. And so now as she's talking to people and they're going, well, I don't know, where are your kids going to school? My kid's going to Sky. And those are the kinds of things that they get to do. So it just spreads out and it gets into the community. So I want to say thank you to you and Steve for your efforts and for including the students in this. It would have been super easy for the two of you just to do it on your own, but you got the students involved, and I think that's what's so special about it.
Right, and on any of the ones in the future, I have 3D design, which I'll teach in the fall, and we're going to work on some like prototypes and ideas, and have it be a collaborative of the art students as well. This was sort of quick, and I did a quick turnaround on it, but and Mr. Hatcher has agreed with me. He's also made me commit to taking welding, that I will be working on any future projects with him and on the weekends.
I've got a question on how long did the actual construction, once you got all the materials in, how long did that take?
Mr. Hatcher will tell you that I drew this in 10 minutes, and that's not true. It was several months of revisions, and there were several, could be 20 more that I could have showed you. Steve will say it took almost like 200 hours, I think is what he docked in it. So it was almost 2 years of construction time. And that's why the students aren't here, because they've all graduated.
And they have welding jobs now because they've got those skills. That was fabulous. You've got just a comment that we need inflatable versions so we can take them to our college fairs when we go out to the schools. And you have a question on, is the sculpture's official name Sky's the Limit, or was that just the presentation for today?
That has become the official title. It's on the plaque now. I do not know where it came from. It was sent to me, and I thought, what? Because I was all about quoting the Foo Fighters and say, Sky is the neighborhood. That was mine, but nobody asked me. Do you all know where that came from? I do not. I'm saying Heather. Heather Rogers is my guess.
We'll give Heather the kudos on that. She just went and put the plaque on there probably too. That was at the nighttime thing when they didn't.
Okay.
Other questions here in the room, or any other questions online? All right. Well, thank you very much. It's a great project. Excellent. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, David.